Assalamu alaikum. Today we will making application that will store the user profile information in Cloud Firestore, and also we will implement simple search in Firebase. So when the user give his ID, it will fetch the profile information for that specific ID. So let's check the demo. Let's create user, give ID and give name. Here is email, department, and city. Let's register the user. If I give the wrong ID, so it will show me the message the user is not found for the specific ID. And if I give the valid ID, so it will navigate to the another screen and show user profile. So let's start from Android Studio. Import package material dot create a main class. Inside a main class, run app, material app, and close the debug show banner. And let's create a stateful widget, my app, and the material app home, give my app, here scaffold, give some title text in the app bar, simple search in Firestore. In Firebase. Let's restart the application. Go to scaffold and body. Here I create a column. Inside a column, create text field, give some decoration, give label text, find user, also give border, outline, input border, so border radius dot circular 20. Let's restart the application. Give some fading to the column and restart the application. And below the text field, create one button, that will show the user detail, and here we find one string, search for user detail, Let's restart the application. And also change the theme to dark. Let's restart the application. Nothing happened. So let's create floating action button. Icon icons.add. When user click the floating action button, it will navigate to the new screen. Create user. So let's create a screen for create user. Scaffold, body, shape area, inside shape area, take column. So here take text field, give some decoration, label text ID and border, outline input border. So change the border radius, circular 20, and let's restart the application. When the user click add button, so it will navigate to the next screen, and here we will create the user. So give some padding to column. Give some style to the text. And here give some height of 20. So also create another text field, one for name, let's create another text field for email. Create text editing controller, one for ID, copy and paste 2 times, one for name and one for email. So here in text field, controller ID, also here for name and email text field, so it's for email. Now let's create one button. Give some text, create user. When user click the create user button, so it will store the user information in Cloud Firestore, and we get to the main screen. So in pubspec.yml, let's add two dependencies, Firebase core and Cloud Firestore. Then here Firebase firestore.instance dot collection user dot doc dot set. So it's a map. Let's make it asynchronous. Wait. Here ID equal to ID and name equal to name dot text, and also email dot text, ID dot text. Here we will create the document for user. Go to Firebase, delete the old user information. In my case, now if I restart the application, and let's create the user. So here I give the ID, name, email, and if I click the create user button, so it will create a document collection with the name of user in Cloud Firestore. Let's see what happened. Let's check the console. No Firebase app default has been, so let's initialize the Firebase. Coffee in main. Let's make it asynchronous. Wait, here add the dependency Firebase core and also widget Flutter binding.ensure initialize. Let's restart the application and go to create user screen. 0, name Ibad Khan, email ibadkhan@gmail.com. Let's see in the Cloudflare store. If I click the create user, so here it show the user detail. It's a collection and it's a user document, and here the user detail, email Ibad, ID, name. So go to main screen. Here I forget the navigation. When the user create his profile, so then it will navigate to the main screen. Let's restart the application. Again go to create user. Here give ID, name, Sabit Khan @gmail.com. and if I click the create user, so it will create the user in Firebase Firebase and navigate to the main screen. Let's see. So it will create the user here, and also it will navigate to the main screen. The document is created. Let's do one thing for that navigation arrow. In the main screen, go to app bar and automatically imply leading, so false, and hot reload. Let's see, the arrow is gone. Now for find the user in Firebase, let's create a function, find user in Firebase. Let's make it asynchronous. Now let's create text editing controller by which we will get the ID from user. So here use in the text field. Now in the find user function, we will use if condition, if controller dot text is not equal to null, not empty, then go to Firebase firestore.instance.collection. so our collection is in the name of user, so here we use user, and now here we use a query. So for query we will use where. Here we will give the field name. So now we will find the user by its ID, because the ID for every user is unique, is equal to controller dot text. So get that specific document for that specific ID. Here we will use a where query where the ID which is belong to that ID which is present in the Firebase Firestore is equal to the text editing controller given by user. When the user give here some ID, so it will check the ID in Firebase Firestore. If the ID exists, then it will get that document, and then we use for loop I in value dot docs. So here we will use set state function. Now the data is present in the map format inside the Firebase Firestore. So let's create map. Here we will assign the data. Now I dot data. Let's see, the data in Firebase Firestore is in the format of map, and let's use print function and call here find user function. When the user exists in the Firebase Firestore, so it will show the user data here in the console. Let's run the application and also see what's the ID. So for Sabit Khan is the ID is 224 times 2. Now let's check the ID. So if I click the show user detail, it will show the user detail by its ID. Let's see, it will print Sabit Khan. Now let's check the detail for Ibad Khan. So his ID is 00. Now go to Android. So here also give the ID, it will print the Ibad Khan data. Now let's cut it, and here we will use if condition. If map, so let's see map dot name. So map name is equal to controller dot text. Here use question mark, and also else, use else. So here if the text editing controller is equal to the name which is present in the database, so then go to next page and show detail of that user, specific user. next page, and if the name is not equal to, sorry, here we use the ID. So if the ID is equal to the user ID, it will go to the next screen, and else the ID is not equal to the user ID, it will show the message here. Let's update the text. User is not found for that specific ID. Now here we use string interpolation controller dot text, and let's create the next page. Here stateless widget, next page. Now in the next page we will show the user email name and its ID, his ID. App bar, let's create app bar, give some title, body we will use column, so here we will create variable, one for name, one for ID, and one for email, and make a constructor. This dot email, this dot name, this dot ID. So here we will use name dot to string. Let's copy and paste 2 times. Email and here, so the ID we will show in the top. Now go to main page. Here constructor, use a constructor, give the value of ID and also give the value of name, and also give the value of email. So now restart the application. If I give the valid ID, so it will navigate to the next page and show the user detail. Let's see what's happened. So it's show me user is not found for that specific ID. What's the happen here? Use await. Now restart the application. Again give the valid ID. Let's see the information. for that user, and go to create user. Here we will create new user, 1 2 3 4 5 6, give ID and name, and create the user. So here if I give the valid ID, so it will navigate to the next page and show the user detail. Let's see the output. And if I give the wrong ID, so it will show me the message, user is not found for that specific ID. So here also the user created for Hamad Khan, document created for Hamad Khan, and now search for Sabit Khan. So give the valid ID, it will navigate to the user detail screen. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel.